Welcome. So wonderful to have you here. My name is Sonia Kostic. I am Houston Ballet's new executive director. Thank you. I'm so happy to welcome you to the first dance talk of the season. In just a short time, I've already seen what a treasure this company and the community around it truly is. I'm so honored to be a part of it, and I'm looking forward to getting to know all of you throughout the season. Before we dive into Onegin, I will let Angie take it away to introduce our panel. Thank you again.
Thank you, Sonia. Welcome back to another great season. My name is Angie Lane. I'm the Chief Development Officer. And first, just a quick reminder to silence your cell phones and your smart watches. If you need to leave at any time, remember there are exits on both sides of the seats. Tonight, we'll be discussing John Cragen's Onegin, which opens our season and runs from September 15th to the 14th. We're so happy to welcome back Dr. Elizabeth Klett as our moderator tonight. Elizabeth is a professor of literature at the University of Houston Clear Lake, and she is the author of Choreographing Shakespeare. She has such a wonderful way of discussing and weaving together literature and dance, and we're lucky to have her guiding our conversation this evening. Our first panelist is Reid Anderson-Graefe. Former artistic director of the Stuttgart Ballet, he led the company for over 2 decades, preserving John Cranko's legacy while commissioning over 100 new works and nurturing the next generation of choreographers. Reid was also a celebrated dancer, rising to principal within the Stuttgart Ballet. Today, he is internationally recognized for staging these ballets, including Onegin. Please welcome Reid. Also on our panel, we have principal dancers Jessica Collado, and we expect Erin Robison to join us shortly. Jessica is the Cullen Trust for the Performing Arts principal dancer and a Houston Ballet Academy alumna. Over her 2 decades with the company, she has danced many principal roles, and this season adds Tatiana and Onegin to the list. Please join me in welcoming Jessica. We hope Aaron will join us soon, and he returns to Houston Ballet as the Melza M. Barr principal dancer. He has danced with renowned companies from Europe and North America, including Birmingham Royal Ballet, English National Ballet, and San Francisco Ballet, and he returns this season in the titular role of Onegin. Thank you, Jessica, for being here this evening. And thank you all for joining us this evening. Your support of the ballet through legacy gifts and through annual fund makes these special experiences possible, and we're really grateful for that. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here again. Before we get into my little introduction and questions, Reid, I was hoping maybe you could start us off and give us a brief overview of the ballet of Cranko's Onegin, little summary, so we're situated.
Brief is quite a... I can tell you a little bit of the story of it, not of the story of the ballet, because probably you've read or you know of Onegin. My story is this. I am actually Canadian, and I was born in Vancouver. I went, when I was 16 years old, to the Royal Ballet School. And I didn't get taken into the Royal Ballet, much to my disappointment, but I found out that a man called John Cranko ran a small ballet company in Stuttgart Ballet, and one of the leading ladies of the Royal Ballet School said to me, he's looking for boys because they're going to be doing a tour to New York City. This is now in June 1969, and he needs boys. Maybe you should try to go and audition. Well, I was working in the Royal Opera Ballet then, and I didn't have much money. But anyway, I phoned my poor parents in Vancouver, and they sent me the money to get to the plane. And I arrived, and I joined, I auditioned for the Stuttgart Ballet on January the 4th, 1969, and I joined the Stuttgart Ballet on February the 4th. The first ballet I ever saw of John Cranko's was Onegin. And I was looking at the plan on the board, and I thought, gee, well, that's a strange name for a ballet, Onegin. I wonder what that's about, and Tchaikovsky music, and I've never heard of anything called Onegin. And at any rate, and I noticed also that when the casting went up, I had just joined the company and I wasn't in any of the core dances. They're beautiful core dances in Onegin. You'll see that. If you know the ballet, you'll know that. It's wonderful to dance for the corps de ballet as well. I wasn't in anything. And I thought I really should speak to John. He was a very open person. He lived in the canteen at the Stuttgart Ballet. He came in the morning. He choreographed till 1 o'clock. Then he sat in the canteen from 1 to 5 in the evening, drinking white wine, doing crossword puzzles, and generally saying hello to people who walk through. So I thought, he said to me, well, you can come and say anything. I said, you know, John, you said that I could come to you. Sorry, I'm just joined the company, but there's a problem because I'm not in any of the core dances of Onegin at all. And he said, oh, well, did you read the first page where the principles are? And I said, no. He said, I think you better go back upstairs and have a read. So I went backstairs and I read it. And Prince Grayman, who's the husband of Tatiana, has a gorgeous pas de deux in the third act, one of the most beautiful pas de deux about real love between the people that adore each other and are married with each other. It's one of the few pas de deux in the world that is like that. Not wham bam, thank you ma'am, or drama or anything. Just absolutely gorgeous, just absolutely gorgeous. He said, so I went up and I looked, and then that's where my name was. And I was going to become second cast of Grayman. I was 19 years old. Grayman is around, when he does this pas de deux, he's around 50. But I always had this very marked face and this kind of thing, and then I was big and I could partner fairly well. That was my introduction to Onegin, but I'll tell you the real introduction was 1 week later. So I wasn't in any of the core dances. I wasn't doing anything. I hadn't seen them or anything like that because I was so busy learning other things. I was doing Paris and Romeo and Juliet. I was doing all these things. There was so much to learn and waiting for this tour. And so then I got a seat to watch this ballet, Onegin. A week later, I got a seat, a very nice seat, in the stalls, about 6, 7 rows from the orchestra. Now you have to, I didn't speak any German at the moment, at that time. Couldn't read German. I came in, the lights had gone out. I had never seen the ballet. I had never seen the set. I couldn't read the German thing. I didn't know what it was about, nothing. I just knew that it was Tchaikovsky, and that I never knew that Tchaikovsky had written a ballet called Onegin. Well, he hadn't, because it's pieces of Tchaikovsky that are put together. It's actually one of the most beautiful ballet scores ever, but Mr. Tchaikovsky doesn't know that he wrote it, but yeah, I don't know how he'd feel about that. Anyway, I sat down, and I didn't know anything about it, nothing. From the moment it started, I was just absolutely into it. I understood who everybody was. I knew immediately who they were. I didn't have to read anything. I understood the drama of it. I understood that this was a dream, but this was the real world, that this was this and that was that. And was just the most extraordinary performance because Marcia Haydé, the famous ballerina, the Stuttgart Ballet, she created that role, and I saw her do it with Heinz Klaus and with Egon Madsen that created Lenski. And with it. I watched them do this ballet, and I understood everything. And I thought, if there's anything in my life, one day just to even dance Onegin would be like my dream. And so I've lived with Onegin since that time. And it was Onegin in New York in 1969 at the Met that overnight I sat out front, because remember, I wasn't in the corps de ballet. And I sat out front, 4,000 people, it was packed. The audience stood up and just went. They didn't bravo and polite. They were screeching. It was absolutely unbelievable. And with this ballet, overnight, we became the Stuttgart Ballet. And I was a dancer. I stopped early, actually, when I was 35, but I became the director of a small ballet company in Vancouver in Canada, and then I was the director of the National Ballet of Canada for 7 years. I was the director of the Stuttgart Ballet for 22 years. And I've been coaching this ballet Onegin for 40 years. I started coaching when I was about 34. And the first, interesting enough, the first people that I worked with the National Ballet of Canada, the first time they ever did Onegin. I've done it here now about 2 or 3 times, actually. But alone, I'm trying to give you a background to this, alone this past kind of season of ballets, I've worked with 8 companies, all doing Onegin. And through those 8 companies, I've worked with 25 casts of the 5 roles. And I'm talking about the Royal Ballet, the Paris Opera Ballet, Rome, Naples, Toronto, New York. I've been to all these places, and this is my 8th one now. And here I have 4 casts, only 4. The Royal Ballet, I had 6, and Paris Opera, I had 5. And that's what I do now. I'm 76 years old. I've been retired for 7 years. I stopped in 2018. But I never stopped working. And what I do is I flew in yesterday. I feel a little bit jet lagged, and I come and I always go to a company. I do the casting. I was here about a year ago or whatever. I do the casting, and then a woman, Jane Bourne, she might be here. She was going to come. She's a choreologist. She teaches all the steps, which she's done the last 3 weeks. And then I come in, which I've done now, to kind of do the kiss of life. And it's, as John used to say, it's not when, where, with whom, and how. It's why. Why is it like that? And that's what I do. I do the why. And I teach them not the steps, but what the steps mean and what they're supposed to mean and how. Of course, I also show them how they're incredible lifts, incredibly difficult choreography. I show them how to do that, where you put your hands. You put this one here, this one goes here, that one goes there. You know, your leg is around your head. You throw her there, you kick, and you flip, and you go. That's what I do. And so I just started yesterday, and today I've already seen 4 casts of Tatiana's and Onegin's and of Olga's and Lenski's. I haven't seen Prince Grayman's yet. I'll see that this morning. That's what I do. And it's my life work. I also actually own the rights to John Cranko's ballets. And I go around the world that's what I do. And so if you come to Onegin, it's all my fault. And that's about it, really. That's about as much as I can say. The rest you can do, you just have to see the ballet, then you can.
Great, thank you so much. Okay. Aaron Robison is here. Thank you so much. I actually agree. I think the storytelling is so amazingly clear in this ballet. Even if you don't know the story, you come to it, it's just beautifully, beautifully clear. Before we get to more questions for the panel, I'm just going to talk just briefly, I promise, about the source of the ballet, which is a classic work of Russian literature by the poet Alexander Pushkin. So his verse novel, Eugene Onegin, was published serially in magazines between 1825 and 1832, and then the first complete edition was published in 1833. I do think the ballet follows the plot of the novel very closely. Pushkin's title character is a kind of Byronic hero. So this is a literary archetype named for the Romantic English poet Lord Byron. Byronic heroes are moody, disaffected, cynical, bored, alienated from their societies, but they're also very handsome, charming, dandyish, devastatingly appealing to women. You have a lot to live up to, I guess. They're often capable of deep passion. So Byron actually, his life imitated his art, and he was basically his own version of a Byronic hero. He was actually characterized famously as mad, bad, and dangerous to know. That's a real quote. So Pushkin's characterization of Onegin emphasizes his Byronic nature. He's very world-weary and cynical when he appears at Tatiana's family home, and his young friend Lenski is a poet, and he's much more kind of youthful and enthusiastic and romantic. Tatiana falls in love with Onegin pretty much immediately. Like I said, devastatingly appealing to women. And she writes him a letter and declares her passion for him. But he rebuffs her declarations of love with an avowal that he is not made for enduring emotional attachments. And there's a passage from the poem, I think. Yep. So he says, "But I was simply not intended for happiness. Believe, as conscience is my warrant, wedlock for us would be abhorrent. I'd love you, but inside a day with custom, love would fade away. You'll love again, but you must teach your heart some self-restraint. For each and every man won't understand it as I have. Learn from my belief that inexperience leads to grief." So this is often called Onegin's sermon. Pushkin actually uses that word. So notice that in the end, he actually cautions Tatiana to control her emotions more stringently because he says a more unscrupulous man than him would take advantage of her. So Tatiana is very different, very contrasting to Onegin. She's an appealing and bookish heroine whose innocence and eagerness to love is very different from Onegin's sort of self-absorption. So Pushkin deliberately sets her up as a young woman of intellect as well as feeling, and she finds in reading romance novels the ideal love and passion that she wants to find in her life. And again, there's a little passage for you from the poem. "Now with what eager interest she the delicious novel reads, with what avidity and zest she drinks in those seductive deeds, dreaming herself the heroine of the romances she preferred. Upon those pages she descries her passion's faithful counterpart, fruit of the yearnings of the heart." So that gives you a little taste of what the poem is like. So I wanted to ask Jessica and Aaron to talk a little bit about their characters. Jessica, if you wouldn't mind going first and just talking about what it is like for you to dance the role of Tatiana, and maybe just talk a little bit about how she develops as a character over the course of the ballet, and if there are any specific moments in the choreography that kind of speak to her character for you.
It's a very loaded question. Questions. There's a reason why the role of Tatiana is so coveted by so many ballerinas across the world. She is a character that goes through, I believe, a tremendous arc from when you find her at the beginning of the ballet to where she is standing when the curtain closes at the end. And Cranko does such a beautiful job of, each scene is important. It's adding layer to her character, her thoughts, to her views with Onegin and their developing and unraveling relationship. And working with Reid today, it was very nice to hear how he is reminding us that it's happening for the first time, and we can't think about how that ballet is going to end, but we have to live it as if it's happening presently for the first time. And I think that for me, you have to dial it back. You have to, I don't know, it's not a naive sense, but it's taking it all in, little details at a time. Let's see, if there was a moment in the ballet, what was the last question? Yeah, and that, oh goodness, they're all so important. I think the very final pas de deux it's beyond epic. I think that the choice that she's faced with is it's something that tears you apart. And I think her ultimate decision is one of honor and nobility. And I think that's a really defining moment for her, for me, through her. So yeah, she's dreamt about this, fantasized about this relationship and what it could be, and it's finally happening, and it's at her feet, and it's pleading for her, and she chooses to pass. And I think that's a very defining moment.
I was too late.
Yeah,
Right?
it's too late.
Thank you so much. Aaron, I'd love to hear your thoughts about how you approach the role of Onegin. He's not really a typical hero or villain, and so it'd just be great to hear how you approach a role like that.
Yeah, it's actually a really difficult role to approach because, like you say, most classical ballets, the main role tends to fall in love straight away. You take Romeo or Siegfried, and Onegin, like Reid was saying today, there's no other ballet like it really out there because he's such a kind of self-absorbed, complex character, and doesn't really become vulnerable, I think, until he kills Lenski, and that's when I think when he goes away and he vanishes and comes back in the third act to then realize what he has lost when he sees Tatiana much later on in life. So it's very multifaceted character, right? Which is also not the usual with a lot of full-length classics. So this is to second what Jessica was saying today. It was really really great to hear so much more information about what each step, the emotion and the idea of what you're doing, and then it's becoming much more, how can I put it, like the story, in terms of telling the story, because Cranko, I think, already had a knack for the audience being able to understand it very easily, but also for us as artists to be able to really know what we're going for and what we're saying, if that makes sense. So yeah, it's been really great working on these roles. Looking forward to it. Yeah.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
I think in looking at the poem, I was struck by how Pushkin actually shows that Onegin, in many ways, he goes through his how he becomes the way he is, and he talks about how for Onegin, he learns really early in his life how everything is a performance, that he learns how to conceal his true feelings and just put on what he thinks everybody wants to see from him.
I think maybe that was a result of his environment too, right? Mm-hmm. Because he was aristocrat and
right.
Rich, like you say, handsome, ish, handsome-ish. Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know if it's necessarily his fault that he's not a very nice person. I don't know if it's just a result of his environment. Because he, like you were saying also today, he's kind of schizophrenic, right? So he doesn't really feel much like when you declare your love through the letter, and he's just like, oh, this silly girl reading silly romantic books. Doesn't really think too much about it. He's just kind of bored and wants to get on with his life and, mess around and have fun. But like I say, I don't think it's until much later when he thinks when he's bored in the second act at the party that, what am I doing here with these people? I need to find something to entertain myself. And that's when he starts to instigate, trying to wind up his friend Lenski, who's engaged to Olga. And yeah, like that again, it's not a very nice thing to do, but he does it. Yeah.
I actually think this is kind of like a tragic version of Pride and Prejudice. He's kind of like Mr. Darcy, coming to the party,
the sideburns,
sort of looking down on everybody. But there are no duels in Pride and Prejudice. There's a very dramatic duel in this ballet, which is wonderful. I'd love to hear from all of you more about how the relationship between Onegin and Tatiana is conveyed through choreography. And if there are particularly challenging moments to dance in the ballet, and maybe just a little bit about the pas de deux in particular, because there's several pas de deux that they have together. So open to anybody who wants to talk about that.
Go for it, darling.
Yes, I'd say there's three. There's we call it the book pas de deux, which is in the very beginning when she meets him, and Tatiana is just, I think, googly-eyed, just absorbing and falling madly in love with this beautiful creature who is charming very much, even though his thoughts are all over. She kind of slips right into this path with him. And that kind of sends her off into her bedroom where she can't sleep that night, and she writes this huge love letter and then falls asleep. And I think the next pas de deux that they have is one that happens in her dreams. And it's a fantasy for Tatiana. It's the relationship that she imagines that she could have with him. It's a version of herself that either she has yet to express in real life, or maybe she dreams that she would be with him. And I'd say it's a very difficult pas de deux. It's long.
She dreamt of a lot of hard lifts, didn't she?
Right.
Yeah.
I think,
Yeah.
and which is brilliant with Cranko's choreography, because I think as her emotions continue to build and build and build, the lifts are getting higher and higher and more extreme and more difficult. But I think it's such a metaphor for what's happening inside her. And it goes to the Act 3, which is their last pas de deux, which is when Onegin pretty much is in full regret mode and comes into her bedroom kind of against her wishes and is literally at her feet.
Yeah.
And that one is so complex. It's a lot of tension, a lot of struggle.
Yeah, choreographically it's genius, right? The most simple of movements that he does, just like at the beginning where he's kind of begging for forgiveness and he like goes down to the knee wrapping her and crumbles like a shrimp. No, and then
Shrimp.
Yeah, but I think you really feel his desperation, and that's what I mean. Like, yeah, he's just a genius, Cranko.
I feel like today with Reid in the studio, really dissecting each step, you see that there's purpose and meaning to every single thing that we do.
Yeah.
So it's making sure that everything has the right intention, because it's there for a reason.
The ballet is interesting because if you were to come to see another cast, it's always the same choreography, it's always the same ideas. The whole thing about certainly coaching something like this, or particularly when you have very many different casts, every night when you go and see the ballet, you're going to see a different ballet. It's going to be the same framework. Technically, sometimes it might be better with one couple than with another, but that's not the point of it. Maybe you might miss a lift or something, but because the pas de deux are very, very difficult to dance, and for the man, you have to be a brilliant partner to do it. And it's some of the lifts are death-defying. I mean, they really are very tricky. Flips in the air, very acrobatic, but in a good sense. But the whole thing is that it builds to such an amazing emotional level that audiences literally just can't believe their eyes at the end what they're seeing, and the tragedy of it, the terrible, terrible tragedy of it, and how you can tell this story without saying anything. And I think the most beautiful thing about ballet as an art form, especially in ballets that, or with choreographers like John, famous for story, let's call them story ballets, is I mentioned earlier that the Stuttgart Ballet became and still is a very famous company in the world, and still many companies don't do as much touring as they used to do, especially after Corona. But the Stuttgart Ballet does. And one thing that John used to say, the company goes everywhere in the world, they dance these ballets. The thing about it is, you see, it doesn't matter where you go in the world and where you dance them, because you're doing it, you're speaking in a language that absolutely everybody understands. So if the choreography is like a good book, if it's a good ballet, and if the book is really well written, a book has to be translated into different languages. A ballet does not. You can take the same ballet anywhere in the world and speak different languages, and if it's well done and well danced, they will absolutely understand it, and they don't. And just think of it. Body language is the one language that we all can speak. But you need to have a genius to do something with those bodies to make you feel it. And so what the trick of it is that you actually sit down and nobody's actually speaking, but all the people on stage in this ballet are. And the real trick about it is it builds to such a dramatic level because the whole thing is layered. Everything in the ballet is layered. You will understand everything from the beginning to the end, I guarantee it. You'll know who is who by the way they move. You'll know who's the mother. You'll get it. You won't have to read the program. You don't have to read the notes. You don't have to read the poem. You don't have to just go and sit down. And you will be told a story in movement and this company's full of wonderful dancers. It needs really wonderful dancers, but also dancers that can not act. It's not acting. Acting is when you go, oh, and it's nice, darling, isn't it wonderful, and you're so sweet, and it's just funny. It is not that. It's reacting. And when you're a great dancer in a great ballet, it's the way you react to a situation that makes it work, because we all react to situations every day in our lives, situations that sometimes we don't know that are coming upon us. The reaction to most things is much more mentally costly than the action. It's always the reaction. And so this ballet has such a reactive quality to it that it's almost for some people, especially people that don't really know anything about ballet. You don't have to. You don't have to know what chassé pas de bourrée is. You don't have to know if she's got pretty feet or she's got long legs or if he's big. You don't have to know anything. You can just sit there and enjoy it. But when you see it danced in a class that you'll see it danced here, it takes it to a level, because then you're talking about genius choreography being danced by really extremely good dancers. And there's nothing better than that. If somebody's going to speak a language, they should speak the language extremely well if you're dealing with a work of art like this one. And that's the great joy that I have in my life, that I watch not only you, the audience. I go to so many performances and watch the audience, how they get transformed through this ballet, but what it does for the dancers. In every company I go to, it's like an eye-opener to them. They never even imagined themselves that they could do that with their bodies, because they also have to not only do it with their bodies, they have to do something else, which is very, very important. They have to use this. And the only way they can be realistic to you if it's realistic to them, and that's the trick. It has to be done of the moment, for the moment, with the people. That's it. Remember, you'll never ever see, if you see this ballet and it does something for you, you'll never see it like that again. Even with the same people, it'll never be the same. Not like you're watching a film. Certainly if you go to 5 different casts, you're going to see the same ballet in different ways, and you're going to either like it or not. So that's the thing, that it's a give and take. I try to give them what I know, and they take it, but it's what it's going to give them as artists and individuals. Because you can apply it to everything when you're a dancer. And these dancers are really good because they have such an incredible repertoire. They do modern this, they do this, they move in this way, they do that. They're on point, they're not on point, they're in something, they're not. It's really an extraordinary company, because they do so many different things and so many different, and that's the kind of dancers you need to do a ballet like this. And that's why it's such a joy for me to come and work here, because of the standard and the willingness. The dancers are here, they want it. They want it. They want so badly to do it. And that is a great, great reward for me, and it will be a great reward for you.
Thank you. And Jessica and Aaron, you're actually dancing in different casts. Is that right? You're not dancing together. Yeah. So you should come back multiple times and see each of them perform with the different casts. Yeah, because it will be a different ballet each time. I think you're right. It always is.
I've actually danced that ballet in Toronto many, many years ago. famous ballerina in Toronto. Her name is Karen Kane. She's quite a very tall, statuesque lady. And then I danced the one day. It's actually just the next day that I decided to give up dancing, but that's another thing. I danced the matinee on this Sunday in Toronto. I think it was 1984, and I danced with Karen Kane, tall, statuesque, long. And then the evening I danced with Natasha Makarova. Natasha Makarova is like this little wee, tiny, thin, little wee thing. And so I went, you go from this down to that. And so it was really interesting for me to do the Onegin with two completely different women. As types as anything, and of course you have to change the way you do everything because it's either here, now it's there. But even that was one of the most thrilling things I had ever done in my life. The next day when I got out of I woke up in the hotel, I rolled out of bed onto the floor. I couldn't move, and I was pulling myself up, and my body was just ruined. That's when I decided maybe it's not time to kind of. So I know when I'm working with other dancers, I know how it is like for the people that are small and tiny, and you do it this way for people that are, because people are it's physically very different, but it's still the same ballet. Very different ways of dancing, very different ways of thinking about things. And so I've had all those experiences, and so one tries, I don't want them to change themselves for me. I need to help them change themselves for themselves. It's not, it's the self, it's the her in her that makes her interesting. I don't really know him at all. No, I don't. No, I've never met him before. I just met him now. And over the telephone, I heard that he was coming to the company, and so I was speaking to Julie Kenton. She said, we need an Onegin, and she explained to me what he had done and everything. And I said, okay, if you think I trust you. I know her really well. I taught her also Tatiana years and years and years ago at ABT. And so we only met yesterday. Yeah, he's okay. It's okay.
I'll take that.
He could be a bit taller, a bit more handsome. The legs, they go, high. It's okay. He'll do. Yeah. No, but isn't that exciting? For me, I love being in the ballet room with dancers. I love dancers. I know what they go through. I know what they can bring. I know it. I adore it. And he's just like icing on the cake, just a pleasant surprise. I just walk in, and there he is, full blown. Jane Bourne had taught all the steps, as she always does. Dear Jane, he knows what he's doing. But then my job is to tell him why he's doing it. That's all. It's not that hard.
I will say, Erin, I'm just going to speak for everybody who saw you perform when you were with the company before. We're very excited that you're back.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
You should be. You should be. Yeah.
Very happy.
Yeah.
I think we have a little clip from the Act 3 Pas de Deux. I think it's just 40 seconds or so. I know we're running out of time. I just want to quickly acknowledge that you probably noticed that the costumes are different in that clip. The costumes that you see here are by Santo Loquasto, and I think they're new for Houston Ballet's production of this ballet, and they're absolutely gorgeous. I wanted to quickly ask all of you if you had anything to say about the music, because you all heard a little snippet of that. I think you mentioned, Reid, that it's a composite score of Tchaikovsky pieces. So any thoughts about how the music influences your portrayal of the characters, or what the music brings to the ballet? Or just what it's like to dance to Tchaikovsky. Anything you'd like to.
I think this compilation of music it tells the story also on its own, and it's sweeping and emotional and gives you all the feelings on top of the story and the choreography. There are definitely sections that are tricky to count, but I think they're in sections that are tense, so it all makes sense. We have yet to work on the duel with you, but that music's a little tricky. I love Tchaikovsky.
I think it's a ballet that Tchaikovsky doesn't know that he wrote, It just, because everything, the man who had put it together, it's genius what he did. And it's the same motives in the music, but it's all redone for the orchestra. But really, when you dance to the music, one of the greatest things about dancing is that you dance with the music. And so the music, just listening to it, as soon as I start to listen to the music, I just want to get up and dance to it. It just, and you just feel that the music is really helping you, because it's exactly the music that you feel like you need to have to be doing the kind of steps that you're doing. They fit so correctly. A big lift and a big something is happening in the music at the same time as you're making it happen. The music can really, not only do you use the music, but the music drives you to do what you need to do. So the music's helping you musically to get into something. You can do it, and it's also the way the music's played too. If it's too fast or if it's too slow, you must remember that every night a live orchestra is playing with a conductor. For dancers, sometimes it's not always correct. It's only people. Sometimes it's a little bit too fast. Sometimes it's a little bit too slow. So many things are happening on that night and are triggered by people that are alive and doing it and playing it and doing it and taking care of it. So anything can happen. And also music, if the music's too fast, how do you deal with that? If it's too slow, how do you deal with that? All these things, I think sometimes people forget that it is happening just as you see it, and it wasn't like that before, and it won't ever be like that again. And so what one has to do is, the music can be your friend, but if the music doesn't happen to be played at the tempo that you can dance it to, it can also could be detrimental as well. But this music, I think, fits the situation exactly, and that's what makes it work, is when it's a jewel, the music just screams jewel. When it is something to cry about, the music is crying with you. When it's something to get angry about, when it's getting too much, or when you're going and you're doing, and it's just going, and the music's going with you, and it's just going on, and it's relentless, and it will not stop. That helps you as a dancer, because you know you can't stop either. You cannot give up. You've got to get to the end of that music, and that music pushes you. And when it pushes you, it enlivens you. And when it enlivens you, it enables you to be the best you can be as an artist on the stage. It is absolutely the thing that drives you the most is the music. It can take you to places you never thought you could be. It also can destroy you if the tempos are not right or something happens. but that's what you've got. And that's what you've got to live up to, and the music lives up to you because the music is so good. And so, and that's another thing. You also have a very good orchestra here. All these things, to be able to do this ballet, have to be top, the best, top class. And so only let companies in the world do this ballet that can do this ballet justice. Do it justice. Do it for you, the way it should be danced, and is danced around the world. It will be danced that well here too, absolutely, or better.
Thank you. I think we need to open it up to the audience for Q&A. Does anybody have any questions? Yes, go ahead.
Thank you very much. Reid, given your wealth of knowledge on the ballet, I'm specifically interested in your opinion, but also Jessica and Aaron, I want to know y'all's opinion. Is the ballet more about Tatiana's strength and resilience or Onegin's regret?
Her. It's her ballet. It's really, it's called Onegin, but it's really about her. Because she's the one that is reacting. She's the one, he is going through his emotions, but really it is her ballet. And it's probably for a ballerina, probably one of the really great ballerinas to dance. I mentioned Makarova dancing it before, but some of the greatest ballerinas in the world have danced this ballet. They would give it was the phrase, eye teeth to do it, to dance it. And then, but as a ballerina, you only can be as good as the partner that's partnering you, right? But I also can say too that I've danced so many things in my life, but I would say that Onegin is a trip. You start somewhere and you get somewhere, and it's life changing. It changed my life when I saw it, and it's changed my life when I did it, and it's changed my life now that I do it with other people. It's a life changer. And I would say that it is all about her and the people around her, because she's the super big loser in the end, really. That's why it's just so frighteningly scary, really, at the end. It's just, what is she left with? Not much, yeah. And that takes you need really a ballerina that can really deal with all that. She goes through a lot in 3 hours, a lot, right? She's got a lot to think about when she's fixing her makeup between the first and second act, I'll tell you that, yeah. And what she's going to go through in the third act, that's a lot. Yeah, what you're going to do in about 8 minutes of your life, you can bring the house down or the house will bring you down, one or the other. They'll bring the house down.
I love that question. Jessica, the roles you had last year were a continuous growth from innocence to maturity. Looking back at everything you danced last year, there's this theme that your characters keep going from innocence, naivety to maturity, maternity. In this role, are you feeling any resonance with any of those other roles?
I'd say that, every role that we dance, it shapes you. It changes you. You take something from it and you use that going forward. So of course, yes, I think I've used all of those roles to help put all the little pieces that are me. And this ballet is so great because she does have this huge span that starts innocent and matures so much to the third act. So yeah, I'm hungry for all of the stuff. I'm like, if it's difficult, I want to give it a try. But yeah, I think so.
What's interesting is that it's a role like Tatiana is usually danced the best when a woman's in her 30s or 40s. When later on in life, when they've been through a lot and done all the classics and done all the stuff and done all the things, and then you get a role like this, and it's very tiring. It's a lot, but if you've got really good men helping you, the pas de deux are very, very difficult. No, but it is a role, really, for young. Lots of young people do it too. I mean, I had Tatiana's in their early 20s too. But that doesn't matter. But I just find that more mature women that have been through in the art form have done so much in their lives, they can bring something to it. Just a kind of instinct or a knowledge that you don't have when you're 20 or you're 25 or you just don't have it yet. And then you could, but when you really, you usually stop dancing just as you're really getting good at really getting good at it. You're really, that's just how it is in the art form. But usually more mature ballerinas, they just can knock the socks off this ballet. And I remember, like Lynn Seymour, when she was dancing, the last thing she ever danced was Onegin. She wanted to dance before she stopped dancing. She's a famous ballerina. She was Canadian, but she was a famous ballerina at the Royal Ballet. And I coached her before that. And I saw the last performance she ever danced was I coached the whole ballet for her. She danced it once with English National Ballet, and I was there doing that. And she was in her 50s. And it was just extraordinary. Marcia was still dancing Onegin in her 50s. If you've got the balls and you've got the guts, and you can do, and you've got the men that can throw you around, make you look good, you can really knock it out, knock the socks off it. So for more mature ballerinas and ballerinos too, you can do. Men in their 40s can still do Onegin. I mean, it's heavy, but if they're in good shape and they can do that, it's possible.
Thank you so much. Speaking of women ballerinas, ballet dancers being more mature as they do this, one of the things that I've noticed here is the training, the medical support. What do you see now, particularly you, Reid, if you don't mind, what do you see in dancers now that helps them to keep going for a longer period of time, if you see that?
I see lots of things. I also, when I was at the Stuttgart Ballet, I fought for 20 years to get a new building for the John Cranko School. Finally got that building, and it's become one of the most famous ballet schools in the world now. I'm very proud of that fact. But what I'm trying to say with that is, it's a proper facility. It is a proper canteen. It's a place for 80 students to live in and it has medical advisors. It has a gymnasium that you would just flip out about. Now at the Stuttgart Ballet, but this is the same. I see it here too. You go there. There's a room here where the dancers can go in. It's full of machines and all this kind of thing. You have much more ability to have medical resources. You have medical people that are working that know about ballet dancing. They know about what you're going through. They know it's much more of a profession now that's taken very seriously about what is the injury. In my day, you were doing things like, we didn't even have a masseur. It wasn't one. You got one. You went to a masseur and got one yourself. Well, now most companies that I work, they have a masseur, they have this, they have this, they have all the machines that they need. Instantly, when something goes, they know who to phone to do this thing. So the people are taking care of these really beautiful trained bodies. You have to, you can keep pushing and banging so long, but you need to have the resources and the time. This building here is a dream. They come here, it's just fantastic. This is showing that people, and certainly you here, really care about, they love their ballet company, they care about the ballet company, they care about the ballet company where they dance. We used to dance and we had floors that you wouldn't believe that were, when I was with the Stuttgart Ballet, there weren't the floors that we have now. There were like sort of things on the floor that you could twist your ankle because there just was never thought about. And the art form is, I find, where I go in the world, the art form is much more appreciated in what the dancers actually do to dance, to make them to dance at this level, like people prize people that do sports. And we do everything for sports, and one should, and that's fine. But the art form of dance is that they are actually sports people as well. That body is the whole objective of what you do. And I just find that whole thing has changed for the good and for the positive so much around, and I do get really around the world. And so I just have worked at the Royal Ballet. I was just at the Paris Opera Ballet. I just mentioned that earlier. When I'm with ABT, there is a standard, I think, when you're a good dancer that you would like to work. They're every day of their lives in the ballet room, working and working and working, and they do it. How you work, where you work, with whom you work, this is very, very important. And then to have people like you that support them, that they feel that they're supported, because they're also fragile human beings as well. And they're sensitive and sensible. And their way of taking in the things around them are much more to do like with the little things in life. And I find that when dancers are treasured, you have this feeling that you're giving something, and that you have something to give. And I feel that people feel that now. I feel that when I go around the world, that it's really changed immensely for the good. And this is just an example of that. And you being here is another example of that. That's right. Cherished love of an art form that we love. That's it. Right.
Thank you so much. I think we have to finish, but thank you so much to our wonderful panel. And thank you all for attending. I hope I see you all at Onegin in the theater. Thanks so much.